this is the reaction I usually get from a lot of founders when I talk about, we use content as a go-to market. They're like, really? They're very skeptical. I'm sure a lot of people didn't even come to talk to me or listen to me because they were like, you tried it, it doesn't work. Because they say that, okay, we are B2B SaaS companies and all we need is sales. Marketing nahi karna hai. And it's very common for founders to think that because sales is immediate. You can immediately measure it. It's easier to measure it, and for a young company, you need to show month-on-month growth. So marketing and content are very risky bets for most of them. They're like, we'll probably do it in Series A, Series B, Series C. And generally, this is the theme, right? That content sounds good, but it does not work for us. So we work with about 150 plus SaaS companies today, and at various levels. And when I really ask them, why that's the case, this, especially for the younger ones, the ones who are starting out, there's an ugly truth out there, and that's a common pattern I have observed, which is most people, what they do is they hire the wrong agency, the wrong freelancer, or the wrong employee, because they don't know content ke liye kisko hire karna hai. They approve their bad work because they don't know what's actually good content, and they decide content is not working for them, it's not our thing. This is a common pattern I have seen all the time. Now, being fair, there are some fantastic founders, operators who are very smart, who do try everything. They say we've tried everything, I've gone ahead and I've promoted gated content and white papers and webinars, Kavan. We've done like cold emails and ads to drive, traffic to my very well designed landing page. I put, I went to these festivals, or I raised so much money, or I went to these, events, or won so many awards. But and then a lot of things, from articles to automated. I bought HubSpot. They do everything possible, but they still struggle, because really the truth is nobody cares. They have their vendor guys, they have their supplier, they have their in-house, they have their legacy tool. They do not want to hear from you. So what do you do, right? When you really think about it, a download, a website visit, or an ad click is not good buying intent. 95%, sometimes 99% I have seen in some metrics, they are just there to download that report or just see that event. They don't want to buy from you. You probably got a very nice speaker or a good theme, but they don't want to convert. And that's the reality. If you feel it's so easy, to do B2B, to do content marketing, put an ebook, whoever downloads it, send a nurture email, 5-step nurture email, khatam, work is done. It's not that easy. We wish it was that easy, but it never works that way. Especially in B2B, and especially in our case, 80% of our revenue comes from enterprises. These folks, they ask their network, and they only buy from people they know, they like, and they trust. Most of you folks, I'm assuming a lot of you folks today will be dealing with companies in B2B who have a proper buying committee, who are not just going to say yes to you because you made a cool white paper or did a very fantastic event. So now the question is, where does content come in here, right? Now everything starts with building a good relationship. In any good SDR you've spoken to, or a founder you've spoken to who does sales, he'll say it's all about building a relationship, right? So then, how does content help? Content really helps you build a relationship by warming up leads for you. So there's something we call a warm up campaign. Before we sell anything to anybody at Indiefolio, we ensure they are warmed up. Okay. I know a lot of you have gotten my cold emails. I heard from some folks. We do that also, but my revenue comes from enterprises. Those are always warmed up before any sales motion happens. Now this is how most brands do warm up, right? They send cold emails, they do cold calls, they do lead magnets, they send ads. It's all about give me attention, give me attention, give me attention. And you'll have probably really bad open rates, very, very large sales cycle. Your sales velocity will be extremely slow. Everything will be looking very difficult. And it's not really, it's easy to do, right? You take one database and you shoot some email to them and kaam ho gaya na mera. That generally never works. What really works is this, is using content. You can leverage podcasts, you can do co-authored articles, you can invite them as an event speaker or interact with their content. I'll give you some examples. So imagine you're going up to somebody saying, hey, I understood your problems. I work with other companies in this logistics sector. I can solve this problem for you. Give me a meeting, connect me to your team. Let's figure it out. You'll never hear back from them. But if you really go to them and say, hey, I love your journey. You've spent 30 years in logistics. You've really, changed and created a big impact in the industry. Let's talk for 1 hour. Let me record you. Let's do a podcast. They will run to you. They will follow up saying, hey, what happened about that podcast? The same CXO will want to talk to you, right? Similarly, when you're creating co-authored articles or if you're getting them onboarded for an event, it's the same thing you're playing on, right? The hard truth is, everybody feels this way. Unfortunately, in India, 99% of the people who are on these, platforms, like now things are changing with folks like Nathan Kamath, but most of them are like, I'm a big deal, but nobody knows. And it's honestly very, very true. There are amazing operators in India Inc. who don't see any light, right? They're very siloed. So they're really wanting to give back, give Gyan. And I think that's something you should leverage in various formats because Gyan can be converted into very good content for you. That's why the need of the hour is to become a high. You think of yourself becoming a publisher, not really a marketer. A publisher who ships out very good content at scale with great quality. And that's why there are two things you need to keep in mind. One is you need to create engaging content which helps you build your owned distribution, right? If you are, let's say, creating, does anybody want to give me an example of what space they are in? Okay. EdTech, okay. If you are building something for EdTech, is it B2B? If you're building something for EdTech and B2B, why don't you become the go-to place or a destination for your customers to come in and see more content, learn from there, access really high quality things, and essentially wait for the next content item you are putting out, right? Because then you're owning that distribution and you can do a lot with that. Also, collaborating with key opinion leaders, KOLs, will also give you authority in the market. And I'll give you examples of what we did. Nishit Desai Associates, actually, where you're sitting, is a great example. Nishit Desai is one of our investors, and I've been following his journey since a long time. He's been doing content marketing since 2001. It all started with like writing for newspapers. Then they have Nishit, they have their own content platform. They release their own white papers all the time, and they also have Nishit.tv, where they create. It's a law firm, folks. It's a law firm. But I don't know. I think Saurabh definitely knows. But whoever has gone ahead and wanted to try and understand legalities of anything in the country, you make one keyword search of that point, you will see Nishit Desai pop up. That really brings authority for you. A lot of folks, like I have friends who are lawyers, they read Nishit Desai white papers while giving their exams. So that's where the authority really comes in. And for any company, be it a services company, be it a SaaS company, content can be used to build authority for you. So now let me give you some direct examples of how we actually generated $1 million. First up, step 0 is you need to start creating your goals, metrics, and benchmarks. Now this is a big list, and I know for a fact that you will get a much bigger download. But what we did is we looked at 3 things. One is attribution and blended attribution. You want to set up yourself for this activity. Do you know if each and every in your entire funnel is there self-attribution questions? Simple questions like where did you find us? It's people really honestly, when I look at a lot of onboarding of SaaS companies, they forget it. I don't know why. You have to have that question. Plus back it with platform analytics, so you can do correlation somewhere. Then each activity you do, be it a podcast, a co-author article, it needs to have its each metrics, be it content engagement, be it bookings, be it website visits. Everything can't necessarily correlate to revenue out there. So you need to see, is that particular content performance improving? And if you track the 2 things very well, the North Star for us becomes this, which is revenue and pipeline source. So we have metrics like MQL. This is a marketing qualified lead sourced from content. So content sourced MQL, content sourced SQL, content sourced new company, content sourced ACV, and so on. So that's how we measure at our end, because contents are number one lever. And this is how we set ourselves up before we start anything. Next up, we start creating the ideal customer profile. I think this has been spoken a lot, and we can speak till the end of the day on ICPs. It's such a broad concept, but what we did is we looked at a specific market segment. We looked at the 10 best customers. We've been in the business for 9 years, so I looked at my top customers in who are existing and who are already working with us, and looked at what can be the 10 best customers generally. So like for us, real estate is a very exciting segment for us because content's needed everywhere there. We mapped out the 10 best customers there as an example. Let me actually take SaaS. SaaS was also a big segment for us. We took SaaS and we're like, okay, which are the biggest SaaS companies? There is like right now there is Gupshup and there's Shiprocket and there is something like a Sprinto. All these companies are there. I mapped them out, and then you have to define and enrich their buying committee. You folks know about the buying committee, right? You've got the decision maker, you've got the champion, you've got the influencer, and you've got the blocker. So I got my team member to sit down, search and stalk LinkedIn, and make a very nice Excel sheet saying, okay, in Gupshup, who is the decision maker? Who is the influencer? And really, we stalked them. We looked at their LinkedIn, what do they do, where do they go, what do they like, what do they post, everything. I wouldn't say it led to necessary action steps, but it built a lot of intuition again to see कि ये चलेगा कि नहीं चलेगा. So this is what we did first, and I'll tell you what our ICPs became. One was decision makers, was CMOs. That's my number one ICP, followed by VPs and director of marketing who become influencers, and then we've got creative directors and design heads who are our champions because we're actually removing stress from their heads most of the time. We decided not to create specific content for blockers because we didn't see much value in that. We felt if these folks are convinced, they will only unblock and deal with the blocker. Procurement is a blocker. Like, why do you want one more agency? So they are the ones who deal with them. Now, after you create these ICPs, you start creating pillar content. First thing we did for CMOs is launch something called the Marketing Mavericks podcast. We went out to these folks and told them, you've got a great journey. Let us talk to you. Let us invite you for our podcast. I have, in the last 9 years, probably mailed all these folks hundreds of times. I've never received a response. In this time, I spoke to, within 2 months, 35 CMOs. I have their numbers in my phone. 35. I'm talking about Mama Earth, Shiprocket, Heads Up for Tails, and Aditya Birla, Dream 11, all these pretty hard to reach folks for my customer segment within 35 days. And we are not a YouTube channel with 1 million followers. Yeah. We have 1,000 followers. But the fact that my approach was so nice that I really researched them when I invited them. I didn't tell Saumil, let's do an interview. I really read through his journey and I asked pointed questions on what exactly I want to ask him, and I created a very nice doc and I invited him through that. So my hit rate was 75% reply rate, which is rare. 75% reply rate to do an interview, right? So that was one, CMOs. Then for the ones who report to them, VPs and directors of marketing, we create every quarter what we call industry reports. So we did something like a salary survey. Here, not me, which is the founder, my sales head or my content head, they take the lead on this by going to them saying, okay, why don't you give me a testimonial or give me an excerpt of what do you think about this report. For example, we had something along the lines of degrees don't matter for creative salaries. Ask a marketer that. What do you think? What's your opinion? Everybody wants to give opinions, right? But it's not like your intern writing to them saying, hey, give me, excerpt, which I see a lot of people do. You actually go to them, you get on a call with them. This all is an excuse to get on a call, folks. Get on a call with them. Why don't you get on a call with me? Let's discuss this report. Let me introduce you to what it is, and you just blurt out what your inputs are. I'll paraphrase it for you. No stress for you. But that leads to one conversation happening with the ICPs. And then the last ICP was creative directors and design heads. These are my champions. So we launched a podcast called Design Oops, which was talking about mistakes in design ops. and we invited everybody from Razorpay to Gojek to a lot of other companies, design directors, heads of designs, and we again spoke a lot about what's your process like, how do you make cool products, what's your issue, team hiring, etc., etc. So this is what we did, right? Just to kind of recap, Marketing Mavericks podcast, a report for ICP2, and for ICP3, we did another set of podcasts which is creative focused. This goes to my pool of 7,000 freelancers also. So I've already solved for distribution and I have something to give them instead of just jobs. So that also really helps us. Then step 3 is we distributed all this content everywhere. So one was we kind of made obviously a long form YouTube channel, your long form YouTube video, but we also made YouTube shorts. We made 4-5 minuters YouTube snippets also. We made an IG reel. We made a blog based on whatever was said here. And we also went ahead and put this on LinkedIn. Put this everywhere, according to me. Like for every podcast, we had one main pillar content and 15 sub content. The second distribution is I get these folks to reshare this content and make sure they do this. Right?
Yeah, they are also supposed to generate some views.
Why? The CMO is going to come on each marketer in ShipRocket's feed. That ye kiya hai maine. So they're already seeing my face, my logo, and the fact that I have some connection with them. This is the most important part. I have really they may not do it, so just ask them, saying, please do it for me. I've even sent gifts to these folks. Here is a Amazon voucher or something. Thanks for your time. By the way, just please share it. No, it'll mean a lot to me. This has been one of the most powerful levers for us, which is all the content we create, we actually distribute that through segmented email sequences. For us, we've not really been very successful with like white papers or playbooks, at least in our end, because what generally works for us is segmented email. So I'll give you an example of what we did here. We went to Heads Up for Tails, which is a market leader in the pet care business. Once that interview was done, we basically went ahead and sent a very specific drip saying Heads Up for Tails CMO on how to market pet care in India. Every pet care company in India then was emailed this, and we have like really good. We got like 34% open rates, and this led to at least 3 to 4 meeting bookings. Sales opportunities I do not know specifically for pet care. So just to kind of recap, you go ahead, you put this on social media, get these folks to share it on their feed, and you also send segmented email sequences. And of course, we have a newsletter which goes out. Being very frank with this is the lowest performing channel for us because it's like not curated right now. But if you can segment it, would be great. We don't have that big of a list right now, so we are not segmenting it right away. And then step 4, what's worked for us is you use this content and you retarget this to that same segment. That's why segmentation is very important in the start. So if pet care is a segment, you've spoken to the market leader CMO on marketing, you have that content, you split this content and you retarget all pet care employers and operators and founders on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. You will get amazing click-throughs. And again, top of mind recall. My biggest audience though is I target the same company. Let ShipRocket see that I have spoken to ShipRocket. This is my sales motion, right? So how do we do sales motion after all this? Like I said, we get the insight during the interview. I have 3 questions which ask exactly what bottleneck is there in your creativity, what's your creative stack, your content stack, and I get a lot of insights. There only I see a lot of problems. Like I have heard, for us, when we do campaigns, we don't have enough people. We want to do A+ content. I don't have enough experts in A+ content. We're trying to do, white papers, but I'm not finding a very good white paper writer. Very generic stuff is coming. So these are all insights for me. And then what happens is my sales guy, like I think somebody mentioned here, not me, but my sales rep goes ahead, does a personalized outreach saying, you know what, my founder spoke to your CMO and he mentioned this. Did you read that? Did you check it? I just was curious to know, where can I help you here? If they don't reply, I tell the CMO that, hey, my team actually wants to talk to your team for this reason. Can you just tell them to reply or connect them? And 90% of the time they've done it. Like, yeah, okay, sure, talk to them. What is it? And again, I think maybe I'm you have to be really good with relationship building, folks. I don't know how to teach that right now, but there's a way to kind of, be nice to people, I guess. And then it gets added to pipeline. So I don't do any sales motion. My sales guys do. And the reach, the personalized outreach is, your CMO said, this is the problem, maybe I can solve it, you want to talk about it. So it's pretty, people are like, yeah, let's talk, how can you solve my problem, And that generally has worked pretty well for us. If you guys want to take a photo of this, this is the actual detailed thing. I've skipped some steps here for the sake of time, but like you said, right, there are multiple touches. Like before getting on a podcast, I do a phone call. After the podcast, then I get on a phone call. It's really all about how many times can you talk to your ICP, how many times can you talk to that person, and this generally is something which has worked very well for us. This is the entire workflow. So yeah, you can take a photo, I guess, instead of me going into all the details, I guess. In a 3 month time period, this is something we recently did, that's why. 12 CMOs with 100 CR plus revenue have already recorded a podcast with me. That has led to 150,000. I have not converted it yet because it's just 2 months old and ABM does take time. But these are briefs already in my pipeline. $125,000 pipeline is ready. It's basically on me now to convert this. I would say 80% of this is converted. 20% I still don't know. Much higher ROI, right? Like I said, I spent in this activity I spent less than $3,000, right? Of my entire, including editor, my team member salary, my energy. I also put some cost to my time. That's just less than $3,000. The average contract value is 3 times higher because it's a top-down motion. The CMO doesn't want you to do adapt work. He's like, can you help me solve this big problem? So the size and the deal size is only big. And 10 times faster than my usual SQL to client and 4 times faster than my lead to SQL, right? So if I send a cold outreach to it becoming a sales qualified lead, when I do it with the CMO, because of the sales motion I said, we get much faster replies. When I do it from SQL to client, 10 times faster because the decision maker is already the CMO who knows me, who trusts me. So doesn't, most deals get stuck. Yeah, अच्छा लग रहा है, but convert तो होता ही नहीं है because the CMO needs to open and approve. That's why I was 10 times faster. And I have the direct line of communication. I can just call up saying, why is it stuck? Tell me, I can help you make this deal sweeter or whatever it is. So basically, that's about it. So make content a priority. I personally believe that if you want exponential growth, and I could be wrong here, but if you want exponential growth, there are really 2 bets you can take. You can take a bet on product. You make a good feature, there's PLG, it'll blow up. But if you don't want to make changes to a product, and if you're a company like me, which is not tech first but tech enabled, content's the next bet you have. That has the potential to go viral. That has the potential to get you indoors with the biggest people. And there is nothing else which will help you do that very, very quickly. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you, folks. We can now enter into a Q&A if you have time.